Hey, Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media, along with my co-host Andre Casseday, here with Charlotte Vibe at Bank of America Stadium. Today, we just had a chance to witness the introduction for the first time. I guess I can't say ever, but most people it feels like forever.
Right.
A new head coach and a new general manager has been introduced. Thank you all for patiently waiting. I know we originally had a 1 o'clock scheduled time. Too much information. We had no chance to go live at 1 o'clock. So we did get ahead of the curve a lot. Didn't last minute. We changed it to 2 o'clock. It's still not going to be enough time to go through it.
It never is. I feel like it never is. No matter how late or how early we do things, when we leave or when we show up, it's just never enough time.
Yeah. So what we'll do, we'll just continue to do lots of maybe shorter videos to get you all the things that you want to do. So let me go ahead right now. There's a lot of new people that are going to be watching this video, I suspect, right? So tell you a little bit about the channel. We're independent media, which means we can do kind of what we want to do. Not exactly, because we have credential rules, but Andre.
We're kind of our own boss in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Us being our own bosses, we like to work for you guys. So that means in this channel, we take a lot of feedback from the fans. We go live all the time to take your questions and get those answers for you. And we also like to educate you so you can have your own feelings about this team, right? So whether it's something specific, high level, one-on-one on football related, we're here. We're your friends in the media, so we hope that you enjoy your stay here. Subscribe to the channel. Help us reach 10,000 subscribers. So,
and with that being said, let's just add a little extra to that.
So
you have these two characters of a guy on top of it all, the cherry on top to everything that he just said.
You got the cool guy with the glasses over there.
You get to deal with our semantics on a daily basis. So even more of a reason to subscribe and to continue to grow our channel, because that's what we're trying to do, folks. We're trying to get it to 10K. We've been trying to do it for a while now, but hey, why can't it be this season?
The 2 and 15 hurt us a little bit.
It did, but the people who the team brought in today could help us get to that goal. So join us on our journey here.
So today is the first of an exciting offseason. Normally, Charlotte Vibe, we get a little low-key. We catch our breath.
I know I have. I've been on vacation for a week, and this guy decided to put me back to work today. What's that all about?
Love. It's nothing but love.
Right.
So not only we're here today covering the head coach and general manager, we're also going to be in Indianapolis in a little bit less than a month covering the combine there. So stay tuned, subscribe. So, all right, we got a lot of people that are joining us. Appreciate everybody that's joined us. Also want to point out, Andre, you can pin it in the comments right now if you want. We go live, as I just mentioned, for the sake of interacting with you guys. So there's a link in the description, which you can use at any point to come on the show, ask a question, make a statement. We'll love to interact with you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. There's been a lot of changes as the team continues to build this new staff, right? So we're going to go ahead and talk about the staff first, and then Andre was the one who had the privilege of sitting in firsthand on the press conferences with, I'm stuttering because I don't want to mess it up, Dan Morgan and Dave Canales.
He was about to say Dan Canales, and hey, I'm not the only one, thankfully. He has that same thing too, because there's like 2 Dans, 2 Daves, that all gets all jumbled up in the head, right? But you know, it happens, right?
It happens. And he had a lot of good information now, as well as got a chance to talk to players and just a lot of stuff. Some stuff he can't even tell you about because it's top secret. But just know when we tell you something, it's coming from good, reliable, sourced information. But let's go ahead and talk about these coaching changes, because we've got a lot of them that have been taking place. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and talk about Dan Morgan and company. So, as you know, because today was all about this, Dave Canales. I'm reading it and I almost
said it.
Dave Canales is our head coach, coming over from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and excited to have him on our coaching staff. Any quick initial thoughts on Dan?
This will be a theme.
You jinxed it by saying that. On Dave
Canales. Just a quick little insight on him. High energy, and that will be a theme that we will commonly use throughout the show today and moving forward. I mean, it doesn't matter what setting he's in, behind the scenes, in front of the bright lights. There's just this infectious energy about him, and you know, it's very authentic.
Okay.
I'll just say that for now.
Make sure you hold the mic just a little bit
closer. Higher. Okay, I'm
bit closer.
slacking over here. I can't. This is an experienced member of the Charlotte Vibe. I can't be doing these things no more. I should be on it, you know? But I've been off for a week. So
He's been off. Dave also allure for Dave coming here to Carolina was his work with quarterbacks, right?
Yes.
Geno Smith out in Seattle, comeback player of the year. Baker Mayfield, we'll see if he makes it, but he's actually been nominated for comeback player of the year as well.
And as a Pro Bowler, too.
He's a Pro Bowler?
He is a Pro Bowler.
And he's a Pro Bowler. So that's a little bit about Dave Canales. Continue to work through this list. We have Dan Morgan, who is our general manager / president of football operations.
Little controversial.
So Dan there, he was promoted from within. He served, I don't know how many years, 2 or 3? Under Fit, maybe 2?
I believe since Fit got here, back in 2021. So
okay.
At least 3 years under his wing.
He has, made his way through the ranks, and he is now our general manager. We also have Harold Godwin. He's the assistant head coach and the run game coordinator. So Godwin comes to us with experience from the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as the Tampa Bay Bucks, and he has a couple of Super Bowl rings from both of those teams. Some good franchises, right? Well, Bucks good recently with Tom Brady. They kind of boost him up there a little bit. But here's something else. He's also a native of Columbia, South Carolina. I don't know if you had something to say there about Goodwin.
Don't really have much to say. Still need to do more research on this fine individual. But I think people associate him with the lack of a run game in Tampa Bay. They were ranked dead last in the NFL in rush yards per game. So I think there's a little bit of some hesitancy with that hire. But with all the experience that he brings to the table, that's definitely something that the team will benefit from.
All right. Bernie Parmalee. I'm glad I got you here. How do you Parmalee? I'm going to go with Bernie Parmalee.
We'll roll with that.
He is our running backs coach, and he is out of Jacksonville. And he was a Hall of Fame running back at Ball State.
Oh, wow.
He's been in the league for a while, but he's our running backs coach. Continue to move on. We got Rob Moore. He's our wide receivers coach. He comes to us from the Tennessee Titans. And did you know he was a first-round draft pick?
Was he?
He was indeed. He was a first-round draft pick back in 1990, and he played 11 seasons. And since then, he's been in the league in a coaching role. So he's going to be our wide receiver.
So again, another individual that has experience and has played in the NFL. So he definitely has two perspectives that are unique that he could bring to the team and add to the dynamic that this coaching staff is trying to be here in Carolina.
And we have some comments coming. Keep those comments coming. Again, there's a link in the description. I also posted in the comments for those who may want to join us live. Ask a question, make a comment, let us know how you feel if you had a chance to watch that press conference or not. We love hearing from you here at Charlotte Vibe.
Absolutely.
We also have, I just did Rob Moore, right? So let's go to Joe Gilbert, our offensive line coach. We got quite a few guys from Tampa Bay. He is one of those people, Joe Gilbert. Most of his coaching career has been in college, but he got his break back in 2019 with the Bucks. And he also won a Super Bowl with the Bucks. So that's our new offensive line coach.
That's what we like to hear.
And
championship experience, right?
We got a lot of championship experience, right?
Without
old guys.
Hey, with the previous coaching staff we did as well. So, I mean, there's I'm not going to go too far.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too far there. And then let's continue on. This one, I don't think has been officially made yet, but it is pretty much official.
He was, because he was at the presser.
He
was there today in the front row.
I'll tell you that. Hey, so that's why 2 is better than 1. I got to get this. Let me go ahead and give this guy a lot of props. 3rd year with Charlotte Vibe. Well, it hadn't started yet. The season, what's the official calendar thing?
We're still in year 2, right?
Right. But I got to give this guy props. I was not able to make anything this morning at the press conference. He was here at 9 o'clock.
What a great boss he is.
Staying there for an hour long, and he's got to tell you everything that happened today. Without this guy, well, I don't know what we'd have today. So thank you, Mr. Casseday, for continuing to return and to hold up, keeping Charlotte Vibe out there. So Brant Tillis is our Executive Vice President of Football Operations.
It's a big one right here.
He comes to us from the Kansas City Chiefs. And, well, what is his role here? He's going to continue to mostly be a numbers guy,
Right.
dealing with the contracts, salary caps, salary cap, and analytics for the front office. And one thing that I have discovered about him, his greatness, if you will, or why
Right.
they're excited about him, he was actually preparing Kansas City financially for that huge record-breaking contract that Mahomes got well before Mahomes was even a starter.
Wow.
The way that he was working, putting money here, and how he structured people's contracts. He was preparing for this because he felt like it would happen, or knew the team needed to be in a position to secure a big guy. And
Right.
they have, what was it, a 10-year contract?
It was a 10-year deal, $500 million.
Yeah.
And when you look back at it now, like when you first hear it, you're like, wow, that is a lot of money for one player. But how they structured it over that period of time, a lot of it was, when it comes to the flexibility aspect, they didn't have to pay a lot up front. Now it's getting to the point where they're going to have to start paying some more money. But at the front end of the deal, they had some cap flexibility, which, to the Chiefs' credit and Tillis's credit, they were able to negotiate that with him. And really, to be honest with you, for a guy who is the face of the league, you could give him as much money as you want, and that would be a deal that anybody would take because of what he brings to the table. And again, with them heading to another Super Bowl, I mean, you would pay any price to have a player like that, either in Kansas City or, heck, even here in Carolina, right?
We've been desperately trying to get that quarterback. We won't talk all about that, but even that Deshaun Watson, we were trying to get him. Maybe knock on wood that didn't happen because he's
injured right now.
He's struggling right now.
That's the situation there, right? But he brings a lot to the table, and with a lot of these contracts that are going to be coming up here for Carolina, he's going to be a valuable member of that front office to try to sort out the numbers and be wise with how we spend our money.
Be wise, be wise. All right. So if you could, Andre, I'm going to adjust the lighting a little bit because I think we need a little bit of adjustment here. But you were here from the very beginning today for the press conference. Set the scene, let everybody, because that's, again, been independent media. We also like to give you all behind-the-scenes perspective because we do both feel like this job
access.
is really, really cool, and we want to share that experience with you because you don't know. But set up the atmosphere and everything today for that press conference.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, the traffic here getting to the stadium was quite a nuisance. I thought leaving at 8 o'clock today to be here by 9 would be more than ample enough time. It was just enough time with the amount of people that were up here. But getting into the room today, that place was packed with all different sorts of media members. They were able to accommodate a lot of people. So that's really the first thing. The second thing is, the energy in the room kind of permeated off of what Dave Canales was able to say during that 1 hour presser today. You look at what he brings to the table and the excitement that he brings to really anything, in any room, in any circumstance. That energy level is always there, and I think it kind of exuded throughout the room today. There are a lot of players, specifically with the offensive line, in the building today. We did not see Bryce Young, but there were a lot of offensive linemen, a la Ikem Ekwonu, Austin Corbett, to name a few. And there were a couple of legends in the building as well. Mike Tolbert, Thomas Davis, Jonathan Stewart, and of course your usual, David Tepper, Nicole Tepper. A lot of star-studded individuals were in that room today. So for one, this was my first press conference that I had the opportunity to cover. So already I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling anxious, and I'm feeling pumped up because I haven't been in this kind of setting before. But I think the overall theme, and I keep saying it, I said it at the beginning, there's just this energy level that is radiant and vibrant in the air right now. And I don't know if I'm just overhyping it, but that's just truly what I felt today. And it was really cool to see and to be a part of.
And visually, I know they have, I forget what they call it. I'm looking at the wrong place. But they have these digital boards at the stadium that they recently installed, right? So on those boards, they have Dan Morgan and Dave Canales' face plastered across there, which is pretty cool. Can you describe the scene, the setup for the actual event where they had their press conference?
So,
and how many cameras was there?
There were a gazillion cameras. I I mean, that's the first thing, right? The second thing, I felt it was very organized and concise. You have, your typical stage and then the banner in the background with both of those individuals' names and pictures being displayed. The lighting, I think the lighting was the first thing that I noticed because it seemed a little dim, right? So I don't know what kind of emotional response the team was trying to get with that. I guess it was kind of more of a formal, serious kind of vibe that they were going for with the lighting setup. But again, it was crowded. There was a lot of fanfare in the building today. And while they did start 10 minutes later than what was scheduled to be, they started at 10:10 instead of 10 o'clock. So, I mean, you could get on us for being late, but hey, get on the Panthers for being a little late as well. But all kidding aside, though, it felt like a theatrical performance in terms of the setup. The little things that you notice with the lighting, the little things that you notice with how the seating was aligned, everything was very organized and concise. And it was truly an experience. And it was an experience that, this team is kind of used to. This is the third introductory press conference that, with a new coach in a matter of 4 years. So you would think they would have this down pat, And there you go. I think that horn gave me the cue to say, shut up, Andre. Let Chris talk for a little bit.
Well, I don't know if you know, but you were just photographed while you were talking.
Oh, boy,
so
that's a little creepy.
Make sure you sign your name.
You got a Sharpie around here somewhere?
Well, appreciate the scene set up. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and knock out a few of these comments here.
Okay,
right?
Let's do it.
We got some shout outs. We'll go to Panther Blazer for coming on here. Big Willie Style says wrong time. What are you talking about? We came on the right time. Chris Mack says, what's up, y'all? How was the energy there? You just kind of touched on that?
I did, but I'll say it again. I mean, it was definitely – there wasn't a dead moment in that hour-long event that you would want to call, right? There was very high energy. The people there, they were great. Everybody was nice and happy, and there were some good vibes in that building today.
All right, I'll jump ahead to just a few questions because we do this for the people.
Yes, absolutely.
But we're going to go ahead and right now roll into, after I take a few of the comments, we're going to go ahead and roll into the press conference details that Andre was able to get. There's a comment here. Let me find it back from Lucinda Davis.
Okay.
Lucinda says, hey, guys, did you take it that Evero is still staying?
And that was brought up in the presser.
Yeah.
I forgot who asked the question. I believe it was David Newton, I want to say, or Joe Person, one of the two, but it was brought up in the press conference. And just from how Canales answered the question, there is room for optimism and room for hope that he will be here and staying here in Carolina, especially with the situation now in Washington where they have their coach and Dan Quinn. If there isn't any other open defensive coordinator opportunities that he personally views as a better opportunity than here in Carolina, I think our odds are pretty good that he will stay here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you, my friend, to talk up just a little bit. We're out on the street. I don't know if I'm getting old, but I can't hear you.
All right. Well, you can't hear and you can't see, so I'm going to have to accommodate myself for that. So I'll make the subtle adjustment, right?
Evero, the Carolina Panthers are doing everything they can to keep him here because they blocked him from several interviews. So what they did was they blocked him from anything that was a lateral move. So other companies, well, they are companies, but other football teams that were requesting to speak with him for a coordinator position, they blocked him. But they did let him interview for head coaching opportunities.
Yep.
Seemed like he was going to be in a good position to get that Seattle job, but he didn't get that one. So it is looking like he's going to stay here. I kind of saw where he's getting about $3 million a year. To me, that sounds pretty okay.
I think that's a fair deal, right?
$3 million a year, that's not too bad. So that's the latest that we have on Evero is that he looks like he's still going to be here. He is certainly still under contract and is, from that aspect, supposed to be here.
And that would be a big win for Carolina if they're able to keep him because, hey, even with all the injuries that the defense suffered this past season, he still found a way to make it work and to make it happen. So with the respect that both guys have for each other, I think it's a good marriage to keep around here.
And then one other person that I want to talk about, Brad Isaac? How do you say it?
Isaac.
Okay, what he said. This is the one when I mentioned Tillis.
He's a young dude.
Yeah. When I mentioned Tillis, this is who I was thinking about when I said not a yet official. But Brad
Isaac
is going to be our offensive coordinator.
32 years old.
Yeah.
That's a young dude right there.
Very young. But he won't call plays. Dave Canales will still call the plays, but he's looking to be our offensive coordinator. That deal hasn't been signed yet, but just count on it happening any moment today or tomorrow for that. So let's go ahead and go into didn't get Lucinda's comment off the screen. Thank you, Lucinda. Let's go ahead and get into today's press conference with both Dan and Dave. Let me get my notes together. Today. We're going to start with Dan Morgan. And you've heard Cam Newton talk about this. I wonder how much Dan was on social media, because I think did Dave mention something about being on social media?
Yeah, there was a question brought up about his presence on social media.
Quickly.
Does he plan on being a part of that movement? And let's just say he wants to always have, command and positive vibes with anything that he wants to put out. That's kind of the whole purpose for why he does it, essentially.
Okay. He wants to control his narrative?
Control the narrative, but also just be interactive and have those relationships with people. I think that's really something that he puts a lot of emphasis on, is those relationships. And, hey, that's unique for a coach here in Carolina, because you really haven't seen that up to this point until now.
Ron Rivera, no. Well, Matt Rule was on there, right?
Yeah, he was, but I think once the slander started to come in with him, he kind of hid under a rock and kind of said, hey, I don't want to be involved with this, so we're just going to keep those lips tight and keep it tight and sealed there. But, yeah, it is an interesting perspective and dynamic that he brings to the team with his presence there. And we'll see how long that will last for. You never know. Yeah,
but I was mentioning Cam Newton being one of those guys that want to bring all this energy back to Carolina. Right. And I was like, well, he's been on Twitter and saw Cam talking. But Dan Morgan spoke about bringing back the good times in Carolina. So I'm going to play this clip for you, and then Andre's going to elaborate on that a little bit more for us. Here we go.
First of all, we need to find those leaders, those competitors, as Jay Stu would say, those dogs. Like, we need some dogs. Like, we got to get some guys that are passionate about football, that love football. They want to come out every day and compete on the practice field, in the weight room. We need competitors. We got to bring that back here. We got to bring that back here to Bank of America Stadium, to where people get excited about coming to see our team. We're super passionate about bringing a team that the fans can be proud of, that our, players can be proud of. Like, when teams drive up to this stadium, we want them to fear that logo. The logo has to be feared again, because right now it's not feared. So we got to get that back. But I think it starts with getting the right type of players.
So let's dive into that. The logo not being feared, right? You talk about the lack of success that this team has had. We haven't made the playoffs since 2017. We haven't won a playoff game since 2015. And I think that's the reputation, unfortunately, that this team has right now. And, when you have opposing teams come into this stadium and have opposing fans come into this stadium and kind of just take over this place, it's an insult to not only us, the fans, but to these players who dedicate their time and their effort to building a competent football team. And so that's what we need to get back to, bringing in some players who care about the keep pounding mantra, that care about the culture, that care about winning football games. It sounds so simple, but there's so many aspects behind winning a football game and what needs to happen in relation to the team in order to make that be the result that we get. But there has to be that fundamental commitment to having that pride again, that Panther pride, that keep pounding spirit. It's been there, but it's been dwindling away for the past couple of years, and we saw it firsthand this past season with how things went. A 2-15 year, that's the lowest of the low right there for you. So I think Dan Morgan, Dave Canales, with that vision and that alignment that's so key right now, just to get back to the fundamentals and start building that foundation again. I think they're excited about that opportunity. But again, there's that urgency there to get back to where we once were. And he talked about it with that 2003 run when they made it to the Super Bowl. When you see all the towels being spinned around in the stadium, right? Like, that energy is so infectious. We need that back here at Bank of America Stadium, and hopefully that happens sooner rather than later.
Now, did he talk about, or do you have any ideas on how that rebuild and getting that culture here? Because I know part of it is one easy fix, winning.
Right.
Winning helps so many things, right? But they're going to have to do it with some players. They have a lot of free agents that, or guys that are, no longer under contract. What are they going to do with them? They have the draft coming up. Any ideas on what's going to be their way to do that?
Yeah, well, the philosophy is just start building this team from the ground up again and getting players like a Jonathan Stewart, who are dogs, and he said that explicitly in his press conference there. Getting those kinds of players who are core guys, who are character guys, that are going to have that commitment and have that faith. And, those are the kinds of players that they're going to be looking for in the draft, in free agency, guys that want to be here in Carolina. And while, they don't have any specific timeline, to make that happen, that's really the ultimate goal, is to bring in those kinds of players that are going to help this team succeed.
Yeah. So
Easier said than done, though.
Yeah, this is the part where we haven't talked about it yet, which I'm kind of surprised. And this is a question out there for a lot of people watching. I know there may be some comments that I need to get into, is how much hype do you get into? How much, not do you believe, but how much, I guess I'm in a show me kind of mood, or, I have optimism, but I'm not going to get excited about things. So for me, the players are a part of it, but so's winning, so's what the coaches are telling them to do. So, but anyway, I won't get too much off key on that.
But that's a fair sentiment to have, because again, we need to see these results. You could say it, you can spin it all that you want, but until we see the results take place, I'm going to be pessimistic. Yeah. I'm going to be, X, Y, and Z. I need to see it come to fruition.
Well, I just feel like also the guys that we have now, talent-wise, they're not the absolute best on both sides. But I feel like there's a lot of good guys in that locker room that had some fight, that had some, from what Ivero was able to do on the defensive side, you cannot, like, defenses, I think most people say, thought of as a tougher side of the ball anyway, right?
Right.
Because you got to be the aggressor and tackler. So you had those guys on the defensive side that lost a zillion and one players, and yet they still play really good. Maybe he's saying, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, we need those same type of guys on the offensive side. Miles Sanders was one that doesn't really come to mind of thinking about that. And we got some young wide receivers, and Terrace Marshall Jr. and Jonathan Mingo, who you need to see develop a little bit more, but having that dog, as I said, that aggression, that fight in them would be something that could help continue to propel this team.
Right.
Canales was up next to the podium, and a little bit about his philosophy, I guess he got into talking about today. So I'm going to play this clip, and then Andre's going to follow up with some more information about the Canales chat. And then I see some chats that have been coming through, some of our members that are in here. Please continue to leave some comments and talk to us. But here's Dave,
the man of the hour.
Yes.
I don't care about what we can't do. What can we do? Who are these players that we have? And how are we going to maximize those strengths on a daily basis? We're looking for championship moments, championship days, and that's got to be a full-on commitment every single time we walk in here. So for me, it's about building that culture, building our language, making sure that we're using specific language. There's going to be a bunch of buzzwords being thrown around. I don't like synonyms. We all speak the same language, and we're heading in the same direction with that alignment that we talk about. And I'm so excited to create that culture. Culture is what you celebrate. Culture is also what you condemn, and you say, this is a horrible looking play. Look what happened right here, guys. boo this man, please, somebody. And then, like, at the same time, finding great opportunities from practice, from games to celebrate it. That's how you create culture. And I'm really excited to be able to do that.
But there we are, back at it again.
Yeah.
So a lot to discuss, right? A lot to unpack there. Again, I keep saying the word energy, but that's the first thing you notice about this guy. Very high energy, very vocal in what he's trying to, get out there. He talks about culture. That's a word that continues to be used over and over again because there's a lack of culture here in Carolina right now. A lack of success tends to lead to a bringing down and breaking of culture with this team. And so right now, that's something that he's trying to restore here in Carolina. And it's going to be easier said than done, obviously. I mean, this is going to be quite the challenge. But that's part of the reason why he came here, because he wanted to take on the challenge. He was not afraid of the challenge to come here to Carolina and try to restore some winning ways here with this organization and this franchise. And, a lot of the, apprehension, if you will, a lot of the skepticism with Dave Canales was, the fact that Carolina was really the only team that interviewed him and had interest in him. And, that's the thing that, you got to take into account when you hear these kinds of things being said. But, I was telling our colleague, Skylar Callahan. Wow, I can't believe I blanked on his last name there. But I was like, dude, this guy could be a politician. I mean, he knows how to command a room. He knows how to say the right things at the right moment and answer the questions and do it in ways in which I never thought would be possible. I mean, he's very, blunt and very authentic in what he is saying. So, it'll be interesting to see over time, with everything that he is saying, is what he's saying what we're going to be seeing out there on the field? What we are correlating to what he is saying, is that actually going to come to action, come to fruition? We're not going to see it now because obviously this is the off season, but we're still going to be waiting to see how this whole thing comes about before we start to head into the draft and the free agency and then heading into next season.
So part of the reason that we all believe that he's here is because of his previous relationship with Dan Morgan.
Yes.
They've known each other for about 7 years. They were together out there in Seattle. So, yeah, it was just like he was the only one interviewed. I think he only had one interview with the Panthers instead of two.
He had a Zoom and then an in-person interview.
Okay. So,
yeah,
1.5. I'll give Zoom a half credit.
And let me just say this, too. I have some, insider, sourcing with that. So we were in this room, right? It was a couple reporters, Dan Morgan and Canales, right? And to this little tidbit, he was interviewed at the end of the day, right? Canales was.
Mm-hmm.
And from what Dan Morgan said, he's like, man, everybody was tired. Dave Tepper was tired because we had a whole day of interviews, right?
Yeah.
When they interviewed Dave Canales, it was like something woke them up. There was that just, oh my gosh, I got to listen to what this guy has to say now. He immediately awoke Dan Morgan, Dave Tepper in that interview process, and he gave them a reason to, be present in that moment because they were like, man, this is the last interview of the day. We're winding it down. Let's just hear what this guy has to say. And then boom, he did what he had to do in that first interview, and then he pretty much sealed the deal in that in-person interview, and now he's here in Carolina. That's quite the timeline, right?
That is quite the timeline. That is some good insight. And if you guys see me stepping off camera, that's because we've got some sunshade that we're trying to block. So I may have to step off here again in a second. But with that experience, that 7 years they've been together, what about the alignment that these two have as far as?
That's so key.
Yeah. I'm going to step off while you comment to
that
try to get
so
our shade
key
blocked.
Because the last time that Carolina had hired a general manager and a head coach in that same cycle was back in 2002. So it's been about 22 years since we've had this sort of alignment with there being a new general manager and a new head coach. So I think that's so key in terms of, for one, the dynamic, right? Like, how is the relationship between the two individuals? And hey, we're making it happen, right? I'm just acting like nothing's happening right now. But in any event, that's going to be key in their relationship. And I think that alignment and that previous experience with each other back in Seattle, that's going to be key. And that's going to help them make these kind of decisions that they'll be making moving forward, especially with guys who are going to be due for contracts and who may need a contract. I'm thinking of Brian Burns there. That's really the big one. So that alignment is definitely going to help them out. It's definitely going to generate some healthy agreements and disagreements, but they all both have the same common goal. And I think that was really evident throughout the presser today. They were both very organized and concise with their thoughts. And hey, you know, that's something that we need here, that alignment and focus sort of thinking there.
Yeah, and I may jump off again. I'm sorry, but
You're good.
I cannot figure out how to block this sun.
This is why
anymore.
we need a third guy
Third
on our
and fourth.
crew.
We need
right?
a sun blocking person. We need an audio person. But again, you were the only one you're the only one from the company that was there
Right.
at that press conference today. We all know that a lot of people are frustrated. And
They are.
It's funny because I come across people that don't know what I do.
Right.
And various demographics, some young, some older, and recently comes to mind, it was two older people that I came across.
Okay.
And they started talking about football, and they started talking about the Carolina Panthers, and they started talking about Bryce Young. And they were like, you know, pretty upset that we got Bryce, and said, man, we would have had the first pick anyway. What are we doing having to give away Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, just to get this sorry guy? Or then he said, well, I don't want to say sorry. He hasn't had the best cast. But he was still disgruntled. So I say all that to set up before I step off camera to fix the light. Is Bryce Young, okay? We mentioned earlier Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield. What kind of plans are there for getting Bryce Young? I won't even say back on track. He never really got on. But what's in store for Bryce?
I think Bryce Young has a lot of room to grow. I think that's step number one in the process. He has to acknowledge that, and I think he's fully aware of that. But that was the reason why they brought in Dave Canales, because Carolina has to do everything within their power to get the most back on their investment, which was trading all those assets away to get a guy like Bryce Young. And you look at Dave Canales and you look at his track record working with guys like Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith. He said it in the press conferences himself, like, we are going to tailor what we do to Bryce Young's strengths, which is a key indication for what he has planned for Bryce Young and for this Panthers team. He never got into any specific details as to what that may be, which obviously is understandable because he just got here a couple days back and he's still trying to set his foundation here with the team. But you bring in a guy like Canales for one reason, and it's to get the most out of your quarterback. And I think, you know, the resume supports the kind of idea for why he's here. He had Geno Smith's best season under his watch. Baker Mayfield's best season was under Dave Canales' watch. So I think, you know, with that upbeat spirit, that positive kind of mindset, and that ability to motivate a room, but also get the most out of his players. And that's the job of a coach, maximizing the talent that you have available to you. And if Dave Canales can do that, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of success here in Carolina. Bryce Young has, again, a lot to look forward to, due in part to, again, the resume that Dave Canales brings to the table. Better days are ahead, folks. As much as we want to be down and gloomy and pessimistic about things, the Panthers are making concerted efforts to try to bring in people that are going to be positive beacons for our future. Dave Canales, Bryce Young, that's a relationship that's going to be under a lot of scrutiny here as we move forward. But there are good intentions with the people that are being brought into this building here at Bank of America Stadium.
Thanks for bearing with me as I get the shade adjusted. Now, we have the draft coming up, which I said, again, I'm going to be in Indianapolis March,
For the
February
combine,
26th.
right?
Yeah, for the combine. And was there any insight, or do you have any insight on, like, do you think Dan and these guys are up to trying to move up to a first-round pick, or are they going to do some
Somebody
trade?
asked that in the presser.
Yeah.
And I was a little uneasy with the answer. He said, there isn't any, what was the word that he said? There isn't any pressure to move up to get a first-round pick, which, in a sense, kind of, it worries me, because you have a lot of talent in that first round, but also at the same time, that talent can be in the second round as well. That first round talent, with how deep the draft is, with whatever position group that they're looking at, offensive line, receiver, that first round talent is going to be there in the second round. And you basically said we're going to use that leverage with that first pick in the second round to see if we can get some more picks later in that second round of the draft. But he didn't make any indication that he felt any sort of pressure or prioritized the need to trade up for a first-round pick, because it would require a lot, I feel like, to get into that position, especially with a team that doesn't really have a lot of draft capital right now, and we're trying to recoup some of those assets back.
Okay. And again, we'll go live for the reason of interacting with you all. So we're going to go ahead and bring somebody that dialed in just a second, but I do want to strongly encourage you all that are out there, continue to leave those comments. And if you want to skip the line, go ahead and click on that link, come on the show, talk to Andre, because he's the one who, with all the knowledge today from being in those press conferences with the players and coaches.
I was the fly on the wall today, as
he
they
was
say.
The fly on the and I think I figured out why I can't block the sun too well. Don't look.
Okay.
But there's a big glass on the building, and I think the sun is now also reflecting off that glass. So it's too.
I'm so tempted to look right now,
well,
but I'm not going to.
I don't want you to be like, I can't see.
I'm not going to.
So anyway, I'll continue to mess with that. Let's see if we can bring on one of our most loyal people here.
Oh, is it who oh my goodness.
Oh, you don't have your headset in?
I'm going to put it in right now.
Hold on, Shaquette. He does not have his headset in.
All right.
And
we're locked and loaded. How are you, man?
Good. Victory Dance Day.
Victory Dance Day.
Or as Dave Canales like to say, winning's the day, which, I mean, we all wanted Ben Johnson or different coach. And I think, in a way, we got very lucky. We got very lucky that we got Dave Canales. I mean, only time will tell, but Ben Johnson pulled out yesterday. The Commanders got Dan Quinn. So
Pause.
we got very lucky on that. Very, very, very luck on our side. And what I like about Dan, I mean, his energy seemed real. I mean, with Matt Rule, was all about himself and the Pepsi, which yesterday was his birthday, which explained why all the stores ran out of Pepsi, which is a joke, but who knows. Frank Reich, a nice person, but very quiet. The only time he really, and I mean really, eye-pop was at the draft party, which you guys weren't there, but that was the only time he showed energy. Rest of the time was like watching a lecture where you cannot speak. And I mean, with Dave Canales, he's energetic.
Shaquette, can I interrupt you just one time? This is the only one time I'm going to interrupt you. Does it really bother you that Andre and I were not at that draft party? Because you bring that up to us almost every time you have an opportunity.
Hey, it was raining that day, man.
We weren't there.
I was there with my poncho.
Man, I'm going to melt out there in that rain. That's why I had to call out, man. I was like, no, I ain't going out there. I'm not tough as these guys make themselves out to be, okay? I'll be real with that one there.
No, it's not bothering me, but I'm just stating that draft party was the only time Frank Reich showed any sort of energy and emotion, and he actually got up and nearly lost his voice, which, well, press conference, he was very quiet, like sad. I mean, he's a nice guy. He would be a great professor, but not a great NFL coach, in my opinion. But with Canales, the energy is real. His last answer to the question was basically stating, I'm going to stay on Twitter and I'm going to interact with the fans, even if we are not doing a good job, even if we are not doing a good job. Of course, I'm not going to tell you the X and O, the secret, but I'm going to take criticism and I'm going to interact with the fans. And we didn't have it with Wool. We didn't have it with Reich. With Rivera, we didn't have it much because Twitter wasn't as popular as it is right now.
Right.
But my concern, and I will wrap it up, my concern with Canales, guys, we need a veteran coach that will bring him like a mentorship, like Pete Carroll, someone like that will help him along the lines.
Hey,
Okay.
appreciate you always, man. Look forward to you calling in again.
Sure, anytime.
All right, so we're going to give Andre a chance again. He's the special guy. We're going to change the camera angle. I'm going to let him focus on the camera, just on him, because it really bothers me about the lighting, and it's hard to get both of us. So I'm just going to zero in on him. But we're going to go basically do some Q&A
Okay.
for the rest of the show here. We've got about 15 minutes that we have left, and we're just going to toss them up. So I'm going to toss up one, then I'm going to go ahead and get things adjusted for you to go through the rest of the show. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Please continue to leave your comments. Hit the like button. I don't think we've pushed that yet. Hit that like button. It helps other Carolina Panther fans find out about us, helps us continue to grow. We had an opportunity today, because we've been growing, that we missed out on due to me not being able to get here on time, which was the opportunity to talk one-on-one with the head coach, Dan Canales. I'm sorry,
Dave Canales. There you go.
Missed the opportunity because of logistics, but nevertheless, we had that opportunity because you guys continue to watch us, continue to support us, and we appreciate it. So please consider hitting that like button. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to my man Andre Casseday with some of these questions here in no particular order as I try to catch up to them.
This feels like an Andre Casseday press conference now. I like it. I like it.
That is what it is.
I get to learn from the best Dave Canales with his ability to answer questions in the manner that he did today.
Let's see. Actually, let me go to this comment first. Oh, look at this. Bow now. That was me. Love your channel.
Wait, was that the lady that just walked by?
No.
We're going to have to talk about what that was all about, because, man almighty, she was quite the character, I must say.
Took a pic to send to my dad. So, super quick about what he's talking about. An interesting lady came up. And
very interesting.
I don't know who wrote this rule, because I don't completely get it. But, because, I'm not going to say my street senses, but just my safety. I don't like ignoring people that I don't know just to stay locked on a camera that's maybe like 1 foot away from me. That's not my deal. That's tough for me. But it was a crazy, interesting lady. And but that's not who we're talking about. Earlier while you were talking, the truck stopped with the little things that blew the horn when they went off.
Yeah.
So they had your picture taken. That's bow now, I'm assuming, because they said they stopped, took a picture to send to their dad.
Shout out to you for that. I appreciate that. We both appreciate the love there. But, that was quite the interesting interaction there. We'll talk about that off camera, about the whole situation. But, man almighty, some of these people do not – let me just say this, because, I'll be quick in my regards about this. Some of you people do not know how to interact with people who are live. Don't hesitate to, come on in and say what's up, but don't just stand there awkwardly for like 5 minutes and not say anything, But, yeah, so here we go. Let's do it. So with the Ardawas family, I want to say. I hope I pronounced that right. Forgive me if I didn't. Got to say I'm optimistic. Love the way that Dan Morgan went straight to the point and said that we need dogs in here, that the logo is not feared, and it needs to be. I love that. Yeah, and he said that right before they started to open it to questions for the media, towards the latter end of what they had prepared to say, right? But, I mean, that's the thing, though. That's the reputation that this team has right now. We're not respected anymore. We're not a team that other teams fear, right? Come into Bank of America Stadium and you have opposing fans come in and take over this place. That needs to change. And, he said it right off of the bat that this is something that we need to address, that we need to hone in on. And part of getting that dealt with is bringing in those players who have that dog mentality, bringing in those players who have veteran leadership skills, who can control a locker room and really set the pace. And that word again, culture, within this place here at Bank of America Stadium. So, I really liked what he said there. But again, we'll have to see. And we'll see in due time if that will actually happen. So we're going to go to another comment here. And again, to everybody who has been tuning in, appreciate all the love, appreciate all of the comments that are being left in here. Bryce, Young with a comment. He says, I'm not letting the hype with introducing coach and blueprints and camp confidentials. I want to see dubs. Then we can talk. Yeah, a lot of substance without the actual result. So, again, we talk about these press conferences. Can you really be truly hyped up for a press conference when your team went 2-15 the year prior? Again, that sentiment, I share that with you as well. I mean, you can only put out so much behind the scenes until game day. And when you don't put anything out on game day and, you just don't get the kind of desired result that you want, you're going to have those sentiments of, hey, I really don't care what Canales says. I really don't care what Dan Morgan says until we see some actions behind those words. And, I do agree with you in that regard because that's something we do need to see. Go forward here with another comment from Willie Smith. What's going on, man? I like to hire a young head coach with NFL experience. I believe he is hungry and will work hard. Let's talk about that. The hungry aspect. Dave Canales, he has worked his way up in the NFL ladder, right? He started out as a high school head coach back in California and has made it through various different stops in Seattle, Tampa Bay. He spent time with Seattle for, I believe it was 3 to 4 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he definitely has worked his way up to where he is now. And I think that's going to garner a lot of respect from those guys in the locker room. And with any industry, right? We're in the media industry, but in any industry that you're in, their goal is always to continue to constantly improve year after year and try to make your way to that top of that ladder, whatever that may be and however that may be viewed upon for you personally or professionally. That is always the goal, to strive for bigger and better things. And with Dave Canales working his way from where he started to where he is now, it's an inspirational story. And a lot of that inspiration comes from his background and where he came from to where he is here now as head coach of the Carolina Panthers. 8 Mellow Free, where was Bryce? That is a good question. Bryce was not in attendance today, and that was kind of the sentiment that other folks in the media and in the audience had, was the lack of an appearance from Bryce Young. And let's talk about that too. A lot of the players that we did see, current players, were offensive linemen. I don't know how much messaging or reading that you can get from that, but I think there was definitely a desired purpose and intention for why they brought in that specific group of players into this presser. They know that the O-line is an issue, and they want to show at least some form of continuity with the players that they have now. But that is a position group of need, and that will be a group that needs to be addressed, whether in the draft or in free agency. So where was Bryce? Not here.
You think he should have been?
I think he should have. I think he should have. Because, hey, that's why they brought in Dave Canales, was because of Bryce Young. So he should have been here today. But then again, there's always a backside to that story, so I'll just leave it at that. Mike Wynn with the comment, and again, keep on leaving those comments down in the comments section. I am excited that there is a lot of quarterback and wide receiving coaching on this staff. I am also excited that we got Tillis, who helped build the Chiefs. And I think that one right there is probably the biggest one of them all. Bringing in Brant Tillis from Kansas City, a team that right now is in the middle of, can we say it, a dynasty? Kansas City is this generation's New England Patriots. Now, I think I would consider a dynasty, when you win that third championship, that's when you would cement that as a dynasty, in my opinion. But to have that kind of influence and voice in the front office is going to be huge for this team. You know, he's a numbers guy. He's an analytical guy who was instrumental in negotiating the contract for Patrick Mahomes. At the time, that sounded like a lot of money, but when you look back on it now, they got a pretty good bargain for the kind of player that he is. And a lot of that money that was in that deal is leveraged towards the back end of that contract, so they were still able to have some flexibility there with the team. So I think that kind of thought process and that kind of thinking is going to benefit the Panthers. And when you have a bunch of new, young talent in the building in relation to the coaching staff, again, the word energy is going to get brought up, and another word is going to get brought up is inexperience, just due to age. How much of that inexperience, just on the age aspect alone, is going to impact this team? I don't think it will be too much of an impact because of the type of experience that a lot of these guys bring to the table. But again, continuity is going to be key, and that's what we're seeing here so far with the folks that are being brought in here to Carolina. But having Tillis in here is such a big acquisition for the team. Yeah, so a lot happened today, folks. A lot happened. I was a fly on the wall for a lot of the proceedings that took place today. So this was definitely an experience for me. But this is an experience for all of you out there. This is a very big day, because this day right here could signify something positive moving forward. Hopefully this isn't another 1 year thing where we come back here this time next year and we introduce another head coach. Hopefully we can break out of that habit and break out of that cycle that we're in right now. Big day for the Panthers, bringing in Dan Morgan as GM. Big day for Dave Canales as Panthers head coach. These two individuals will be key and instrumental for everything revolving around this team moving forward. And Charlotte Vibe will have you covered throughout the way. So continue to keep at it here on our channel. We appreciate all of you for staying with us here throughout the coverage today. A lot took place today. And again, we really do appreciate all the love out there that you guys showed today. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here live outside of Bank of America Stadium. I am Andre Casseday. Hit the like button. I'm being directed by Chris, my off-duty boss right now. I can't say that. That's a little too facetious. But hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, man. We're going to be on here for a while now, so keep at it here. And until next time, I'm Andre Casseday for Charlotte Vibe. Have a good one, everybody.